Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Hi everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Broker Bulletin, coming to you live from the Growth Summit on the Gold Coast. I'm Scott Baker from Toast Finance, and if you've ever wondered how to get featured in the press, what journalists are really looking for, or how to turn one good story into long-term credibility, this episode is for you. I'm so excited to be joined by the managing editor of The Advisor, Annie Kane. Welcome, Annie.
Thanks, Scott. It's good to be here on Broker Bulletin. Feel nervous being on the other side of the microphone, but hopefully, providing some value for broker listeners today.
Fantastic. And firstly, tell me, I feel like you've been on the road. I've seen you all on socials at every event all around the country. Is it going to end? When's it going to end?
When's it going to end? Yeah, we've been on the road for Better Business Summit and awards recently. So between February and April this year, it went on. And obviously we had loads of industry events in between. So it has been a lot of travel, but it finished up on the 3rd of April. Yeah, it was so much fun. It's really great to be able to travel the country and see so many brokers in so many different states and celebrate excellence at the awards as well. And then again here for the Growth Summit and doing it with loan market brokers, really fun to see all the LNG family together.
I'm sure most of our listeners know who you are, heard your name, seen you around, but can you give us a little bit of information about your media background in the past?
So I've been the managing editor of The Advisor. At The Advisor for the last 9 years and always been a journalist in my career and nearly always in print journalism as well. So yeah, I've done loads of different types of journalism. I've done consumer facing, I've done business facing, I've done podcasting and print and news and broadcast. So yeah, I've done pretty much everything now, but been in broking and reporting about finance for the longest, and it's just so much fun. So that's me.
Fantastic. Love it. Well, a big thing we're here to talk about today is PR. Now, I think to a lot of brokers, PR, marketing, all of this type of stuff might be a foreign space. So I think initially, tell us, what is PR and how can it help brokers build trust with their audience?
Yeah, so PR, public relations. So looking at how you're really putting your brand out there, how you're engaging with the public. Marketing is kind of similar, but PR is really about actually connecting with the media, with journalists, and getting your story out there, getting your face out there. So a lot of what we do at The Advisor is in the journalism space is connect with PR agents who are representing different companies or different brands and telling us why they think we should be covering them.
What's the main difference between, I guess, industry media and consumer media? Help us understand that.
Yes, this is a really great question. I think so much of what we see when we get pitched articles by either PR agents or through brokers is stuff that's really consumer facing. So a lot of the time we'll get emails from people saying, I want to be talking about, how I can help home buyers buy property, for example, or get a home loan. And while that's great for a consumer facing publication, let's say if you want to talk to Channel 10 News, that would be a great piece of content for them, because particularly now when rates are going down, maybe looking at how can you help consumers, what does the broker do, that's fine. But for business to business facing, which is what we do, we're obviously talking to a business audience, and specifically we're talking at The Advisor to a broker audience. So if someone's pitching us an article about how brokers can help home borrowers, like, well, we already know that, and all of our readers already know that. So pitch me something that is relevant to my audience. And I think that's probably the big thing, is when you're talking to consumer, you're talking to people who probably don't know so much about what you do day to day. When you're talking to business, you're talking about people who know this industry very well.
Yeah, fantastic. And tell me, if it's really not talking to the consumer, it's about talking to a business. Like, what makes a story newsworthy?
That's a great question, and we get that a lot. So I think it has to be, firstly, timely. So for news, obviously it has to be new. So really ideally, if it's something like a reactionary piece, it needs to be within the first 24 hours after that thing's happened, and ideally a few hours, if not minutes, after the thing has happened. So let's say it's about the general election, and if we then write a news story about what the industry thinks about general election, we need that content immediately, pretty much within the next like 6 hours, and ideally within the next few hours. It has to be very fast paced. So it has to be new. It also has to be interesting. So when I say interesting, I mean like something unusual, or it has to be something that will change how people interact with that brand or that company or that person. So something that's going to be informative, new, and hopefully exciting.
And I guess that leads on how you're determining what you're going to publish. Is that one of the key indicators, something that's a bit out of the box, or that's like, oh, wow, like that's an interesting story? Like, is that kind of the criteria you go through to determine what you're going to publish?
Yeah, so I probably get, myself personally, I probably get about 400 emails a day, and I'd say about 200 of them are irrelevant. And a lot of it is because people just don't realize what news is. So I'd say for any broker who's looking at, engaging PR or wanting to talk to journalists, is make sure you know what they're interested in, so who their audience is. As I said, for the advisor, our audience is broking industry. So we don't really want to know too much consumer stuff. We want to know, what are you doing as a broker? What are you upset about? What are you really loving? And what are the lenders doing? We're kind of providing news for the broking industry in the hopes that brokers can learn from that and maybe do something new that day. Whereas I think if you're talking to someone and pitching a story, it really has to be relevant for that audience. It has to also make the editor or the journalist sit up and take notice within the first couple of sentences. So really get to the point quickly and make sure it's relevant.
And like, if I'm a broker I've never done PR, and I see an opportunity, I want to share my story about my business to other brokers. Like, where do I start? How do I not get lost in your 400 emails? Or like, what channels do I go through to create an opportunity for myself?
Yeah, I mean, I would say persistence is also really key, because it might be that, first time you get lost, try different avenues. So try an email, try social media, but also I'd say start immediately with how you can provide value. So what it is that you're pitching right from the start. If you spend paragraphs of time trying to tell someone your life story before you get to what you actually want, they're going to stop reading. So get to the point quickly, know what you're talking about, know what you're wanting to get across, and make sure it's in your wheelhouse. You don't want to be pitching something that you don't actually know. They then agree to do an interview and then you're floundering. So make sure you're going to come across well.
That is a key point. I love that. I guess once the story is published, like, how would a broker, if their story is in one of the publications, I guess, leverage that to get the most out?
Yeah, and most publications really want you to share it. So it should be fairly easy. But yeah, I would say always make sure you obviously be sharing on all of your social posts, but also chunk up the article, maybe take a couple of quotes that you've said that you really are proud of and then link to the article, and you can have multiple bites. You can also reshare the publications post as well. That gives you another bite at it. But I would say keep mining from it, because there will be so many different posts you can take out of it. You can see reaction from it. And if you've earned, the right to be in the publication or to be on the news or to have your name put out there, you want to make sure people see it. So really amplify it through your socials. Put it on, if you've got a shop front, frame it, put it in the shop. Anywhere you can where you're going to be talking to people, we want to make sure you're highlighting that you're a reputable source.
Love it. I think that's such a key point, is to, as brokers, position ourselves as the trusted voice for, in the space. And it's a great tool to do that, which I think kind of leads into social media. I guess, tell me about, yes, brokers need to use that to publish an article as an example, but tell me more about social media and why that's important to help brokers build their credibility and trust in their community.
Yeah, well, I think so much of what we heard at the Growth Summit is around, saying, well, we know that brokers are the channel of choice, so how are you the broker that people find? So socials are so important for your business in terms of people are probably going to be finding you through social media first before they come and talk to you or book in a meeting. So making sure they know who you are, that you're trustworthy, they know what you specialize in, so how you're relevant for them, but also that you've given them something that is of value. So, you've either taught them something, or you've given them something to think about, or you've given them a piece of information about what's happening in the market. But I think social is so important, because so often people will suss you out online before they actually come and talk to you. And in this day and age, if you're not on socials, you don't exist.
I find from my own experience, socials is a validation tool. And people are even using things. I mean, I use Instagram mainly as a platform, but people are using Instagram like Google. like where they go into the search and might type in mortgage broker or your name or if I hear about a new restaurant or whatever it is, I go to Instagram first.
Yeah.
And I think with brokers, like with social media especially, is the consistency is so important. There's nothing worse than someone looks for you on Instagram and your last post was in September 2024. Because it's like, oh, are you in a silly business? Like, oh, maybe you've shut down. Like that whole using socials to be consistent with your community, keep front of mind is so powerful. And I think such an opportunity for so many brokers.
Yeah, and that's also where you can harness things like scheduling social media posts as well. Like if you do have that one article that publishes somewhere, or you've got, a podcast that's gone out, you can divvy that up into so many different pieces of content across so many different channels and just schedule them to run. So you don't even have to think about it, and you've got that consistency coming through still. So I definitely recommend that people spend some time just to do something like that, where they set it up and schedule it so that it is getting eyeballs across a longer period of time.
Any hot tips with social media, how to leverage it, platforms, content wise, what are you seeing? What's looking good? How can brokers leverage it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say I'm the best social media strategist myself, but the things that I love engaging with are brokers that are teaching me something. And I think that goes really a long way with consumers as well. Like if you're telling them about how something works, they already feel like you've taught them something, you've given them some value. So when they do engage you, they kind of feel that buy-in and trust factor already. That really works. I think also, like if you're resharing your clients' posts about buying their house, or, like the typical kind of, I guess, in front of the sold sign, that's really great. I just love to see, I think, how brokers are making a difference in people's lives. I think that's a great story that can never be told too much, is resharing what the difference is that you're providing your clients.
Absolutely. And I think these days with brokers, like the home loan for me it's the 10% at the end. Like this, we're changing people's lives. We're helping people achieve their dreams and goals. Like that's the meaty, exciting stuff. And the more we can share that, it's so powerful to, again, help build trust, people's community.
Yeah. And I think, again, just looking at the different platforms available, I'm actually not on TikTok, but I know so many brokers who are and are absolutely nailing it. And they get, like you said about the Instagram search thing, so many people finding them through TikTok. I love Instagram, and I would say, because I'm in business media, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So LinkedIn's probably my platform, maybe not so great for brokers though.
And what's your advice around, there's so many platforms, I think brokers could feel overwhelmed of I've got to post on every platform. Would you advise around focusing on one platform consistently or trying to spread across? What would your thoughts be?
I wouldn't focus on one. I would try and do all of them, but you can just put one post across all of them. So again, using technology or scheduling tools that enable you to link all of your social posts into one place. So you're not having to log into them individually. That can save some time. And then, hopefully just getting, because you never know where your clients will come from. So just getting as far a reach as you can.
And a question about relationships with journalists or people in the media. How do brokers build that relationship ongoing? If they've had a media opportunity and they want to grow it, should they be reaching out to journalists direct? Or how do they kind of foster a relationship with someone in media?
Yeah, I think always reach out directly if you can. If there's a professional that you know and you want to go the extra mile and they've got all the contacts already, you can engage a professional because they will most likely know the journalist and have all those contact details. But I would definitely say reach out to individuals if you can, and particularly if you can look up what they've been writing about recently, so you know what they care about, what their big ticket things are at the moment. Then you can tailor your communications with them to be relevant for them. Be like, hey, you wrote about this, I can talk about this. Just be consistent again, because a lot of the time people have got a billion things on, so just following up, I think that's definitely of interest. And for me personally, I love to be reached out to. So if you've got something that you think I should be knowing about for the industry, definitely do it.
You heard it here. Email Annie Kane. She will hear it.
Call me or LinkedIn me or Instagram, however you can find me.
Love it. Annie, talk to me about awards. So there's oodles of awards nights, many of them run by the advisor throughout the year. If I'm a broker that want to leverage these awards opportunities to promote my business and some of the wins we've had, what do I need to do to make sure my entry is going to, become a finalist in one of these events?
That's a great question, thank you. And I think The one thing that we're seeing increasingly is people using AI or ChatGPT to do their award submissions. And you won't believe the amount of award submissions we see now that are identical because of that, which actually is a real shame because so much of the time, what someone's done is amazing over the year, but not taking the time to actually put that pen to paper and realize the achievements can actually harm you in the long run. So I'd say while ChatGPT and AI are amazing tools, don't rely on them totally for things like award submissions. Make sure you're putting in the big highlights that made you feel good in the year. Make sure you're attaching client testimonials or evidence of what you're doing so that the judges can actually see confirmation of what you're saying. And also don't be afraid to put in some challenges that you face and how you overcame them. Like everyone's going through difficult periods as a business owner. Everyone goes through opportunities, good years, bad years. If you've had a bad time, put in, why you've had a bad time and how you are planning to overcome it or how you overcame it, particularly if that impacted your growth numbers. If you're entering an award submission where we want to see your figures, a lot of that is based on growth year on year. And if you haven't grown, just make sure you're telling us why. So I think quantifying it, being honest and open, and maybe like coming up with a personal story about how you've helped an individual or how you've helped your team, that always goes a long way too.
Love it. We heard it before inside the conference here about don't just delegate to AI and wipe your hands. There's got to still be that human touch, that human check-in. I think that's another good example of where you can't just give to AI and forget about it.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, Annie. At Broker Bulletin, we're all about finding those 1% improvements that lead to big wins. What's one small thing you do every day that has the biggest impact on performance?
In my job as a journalist, the privilege is being able to talk to so many different people. So I'd say listening to people and having a great overview of what people are doing, what are some of the challenges and opportunities. But I'd say listening is probably the biggest thing because you can have the same conversation with someone 3 times. And if you don't fully absorb it, you're never going to progress further. You're never going to learn from it. So I think you have to really listen when people talk to you. And as brokers, I'm sure everyone's really good at that. You're always listening for opportunities. Yeah, I read a lot as well. Start reading early in the morning, finish reading late at night. So yeah, constantly trying to improve, constantly trying to learn and trying to be the better version of yourself on your better day.
Look, probably to wrap up, my biggest takeaway from today's conversation is, number one, I guess exploring PR as an opportunity to build your brand and grow your business, but then also using other platforms to leverage that. If you get a media opportunity, that's just a moment in time, but you can use it ongoing. Like you said, break it up into smaller chunks, use it as content over months ahead. So I think it's such an opportunity for people to explore PR, but then again, how do you leverage it for months into the future?
Yeah. And I would just summarize that by saying as well, like, if you don't ask, you don't get. So just try it.
Love it. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you.
Great to chat.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for listening. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, please email us at brokerbulletin@lmg.broker or DM us on Instagram @lmg.broker. And our producer will be sure to make sure we answer it ASAP. If you like this episode, make sure you rate and follow us in your favourite pod store.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.